Hi lovelies. I'm sure you've read the title of this video, or maybe you've noticed in my last couple of videos, this is unfortunately not clickbait as much as I wish it was and as much as it hurts me. I'm downsizing my Labret. The largest size I was at for the past 2.5, 3-ish years was 15mm, and over the past month or so I've shrunk my Labret down to 11 to 12-ish millimeters. The plug I'm wearing currently is 10mm, but it is quite loose, if that makes sense. So I'm not quite at 10mm yet. However, that is my next / intermediate goal. And now that all of that is out of the way, let's get into the why and how and when of it all, shall we? The reason that I'm in the process of downsizing my Labret is simply because it had been bothering me for a good amount of time before I took the plunge. It was always rubbing up against my teeth and my gums, even with an O-ring, and then sometimes it would like make my lip flip forward, so the edge was kind of rubbing up against my teeth and my gums, and that was even worse than just the flat backside of the plug up against my teeth. Or it was also digging into the inside of my lip, or the O-ring was bothering the outside of my lip, and it just was not fun to have anymore. As much as I loved the look and the way that it made me feel, it just wasn't worth it in my eyes anymore. But my final straw, what made me decide to start the process of downsizing in the end, was that I did notice, unfortunately, a bit of gum recession on my front 2 teeth, and these 2 teeth already have quite a bit of gum recession in the back from years of having a tongue piercing. And I would rather, as much as it pains me, I would rather keep my teeth than a really cool piercing, and probably one of my top 3 that I've had over the years. But you know, teeth body mods, it's you know, I'd rather have the teeth. I have to say, I did take a couple of days to kind of grieve and internally start the process of letting go of, like I said, one of my favorite piercings and a huge focal point in my face over the past couple of years. But ultimately I knew I had to do something, because body mods aren't worth, no matter how cool they look, they are not worth risking your health, risking your teeth, putting all of that on the line just for like a little soul patch moment. It's just not worth it. Sometimes you just have to be an adult and force yourself into making adult decisions, even if you don't necessarily want to make those adult decisions. That all being said, of course, I did want to see if I could potentially get away with just downsizing my Labret plug instead of completely getting rid of it or having to get it sewn up. So that's why I decided to opt for downsizing versus, you know, just immediately making an appointment and getting it sewn up. I will get into that a little bit later as well, but right now I'm in the process of downsizing. My current goal, like I said, is 10mm. If it still bothers me after a while at 10mm, it's not doing it right now, but like it might start, because I was fine at 15 for a long amount of time and it just kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm a little wary that it might also happen at 10. We will see, but that is why I opted for downsizing. The process of downsizing stretched piercings is actually pretty straightforward. You kind of just take out the jewelry that you're wearing, leave it the fuck alone, depending on if you have like a set kind of goal that you want to achieve, or if you just wanted to close up as much as possible. You just take out your jewelry for X amount of time and then see if your desired size fits after a couple of days or weeks, again depending on how big the jump between the sizes is. If it fits great, congratulations, you've downsized your piercing. If it doesn't, you just take the jewelry back out again and repeat the process until it fits. And that's just kind of it, really. So the whole process in and of itself is pretty straightforward and easy. However, the complication comes in when the hole that you're trying to downsize is in your mouth area, and you just start drooling whenever you're eating, or at one point you just start drooling all of the time. You can't just leave it open. So what I've done is I try to leave it out as much as possible. Obviously I have to put a plug in whenever I eat, because otherwise I will have to sit there chewing with like a piece of tissue pressed up against my lip, just catching all the drool that comes out. But I do sleep without it in, and I try to leave it out as much of the day as possible, to just make the process of it going down go by a bit quicker. Yeah, so just leaving out my jewelry worked really well for the first 2.5-ish weeks. That is also when the most shrinkage happened, but after that I started just randomly drooling throughout the day. So sometimes when it really annoyed me, I had to just put the plug in and just deal with the fact that it just wasn't going to shrink as much or as quickly as maybe I would want it to, or as it would without any jewelry in it. But I would rather it go down a little slower than constantly having drool on my chin, because that's really annoying and also kind of gross. Like I said, it's been about a month since I started the whole downsizing process. I'm currently at around 10 millimeters. I think it's probably more like 11 or 12, but the 10 millimeter plug fits and doesn't slip out. So within the first month, I'm already down about 5 millimeters. As of right now, I have no more discomfort or friction or any like digging into my lip, nothing, even without an O-ring, which is amazing. So I'm gonna try and see if I can stick with this size, you know, give it a couple of months, see what happens. If I can't, I will probably still try and downsize it on my own as much as I can, honestly, just to see what happens, because there's not that much information out there specifically about downsizing a stretched Labret piercing. The only info I could really find was a video that Remy made, I think 3 years ago or something. I'm going to link it in case anyone was curious about that. And like the odd Reddit post where people just ended up getting them sewn up anyway or never updated again. So not only do I want to contribute my knowledge and my experience to the body mod community, that was so cringy, but I'm also just super curious as to what happens and how far down it'll close, you know, like all the nitty gritty. I'm excited to find out, because most people who do retire their stretched Labret piercings will just get them sewn up pretty much immediately. Not a lot of people will downsize them, and if I'm sure there's been a handful of people who've done that. So I'm just super curious to see what happens. We can call it science, if you will. Personally, I don't really have concrete plans to get mine completely sewn up. Like I said, I would like to stay around 10 millimeters. I'm going to give myself, my mouth, my body a couple months to see how I go with this size. If it shrinks down a little bit more so that the plug is a little more securely in there, because right now I'm kind of drawing out of it a little bit as well, but nowhere near as much as I am without a plug-in. So I'm very grateful that I have something to stop the constant drooling, because it does get a little gross after a while. Yeah, I don't have plans to sew it up, but you know, maybe I'll do that down the line. I really don't know. I'm just trying to go with the flow on this situation for the time being. I think that covers everything for now. If you would like to know more about my stretched lip piercings, because my philtrum is also stretched in general, I have a whole video about that I'm going to link up here and at the end of this video. If there is anything else that you would like to know that maybe I forgot to mention, please do let me know in the comments, and I will be so happy to chat with you there. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing. Or if you'd like to stay up to date with what the fuck I'm gonna do with my Labret piercing next, you know, it's you never know what's gonna happen. You might just as well click, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.